Herbert S. Fielding is concerned about the future of education for Charleston County students, and that's why he's running for the West Ashley seat on the Charleston County School Board. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I speak exclusively with him one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores, or listen to this interview later on iHeartRadio. Herbert S. Fielding.
How you doing, sir?
Good, yourself?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's so good to hear. It's been, 3 or 4 years since I interviewed you for Quintin's Close-Ups. And at the time, you were running for South Carolina State Senate District 42. But now, you want to focus on the West Ashley District of the Charleston County School Board.
No, I live there, and so I'm qualified to run for that district, but I spent, 12, 14 years in employment, in the Employment Security Commission. I worked for veterans most of the time, but I did do a bunch of work for civilians. And I noticed that we were not getting the jobs when Boeing came here. All the subsidiaries of Boeing. We weren't getting those jobs because we weren't educated to the level to be able to take those jobs. And it's not something that has started just now. When I was an apprentice in the mayor's office, in Joe Riley's office, we had a meeting with all these industry people. And the biggest thing that they said at that point in time was, your people are not ready. They're not ready from the standpoint of education. And we're not going to be ready unless our Charleston County Education School Board ups their game. They need to approach and deal with students and make sure that they are educated at the level of being able to take the jobs that are now on the table.
How educated are you about the Charleston County School District, particularly in the West Ashley area?
I've done a little bit of studying. I'm working with some people who are past educators. The biggest thing I got out at this point in time is I want to talk to anybody who's taught school or is teaching school at this point in time, because I want to find out what is really going on. Because I don't know whether you've done it or not, but if you ever ask somebody about what they think about education on the school board, you get this frowny face and they go, oh, they need some changes, something got to happen. We've been doing that for, how long have we been number 48 or number 50 in the country as far as education in South Carolina? We've been there for a long period of time. And, several people would say to you that the reason that our education is lacking is to create a low-wage pool of people who are they gotta take an $8 an hour job, because they don't have the skills to take a $12 or $15 an hour job. That's how I saw it, sitting at the Employment Security Commission. I saw plenty of people who took 2 jobs at $8 an hour so that they could make enough money to actually live at $32,000 a year. So I think we need to do something with our Department of Education.
And let me get back to the Charleston County School Board. I know that you said that people are basically frowning when they talk about the Charleston County School Board.
Yes, they do.
What is that one big issue in your mind right now when you think of the Charleston County School Board?
It's from what I've learned from the people that I've seen on the board and that kind of stuff, it's become a contract agency. Let me generate a contract that some private sector person is going to get, and that private sector person is lobbying the daylights out of a board member to make sure that they vote to give me the contract. A lot of attention is not being paid to educating children or making sure that those persons who are, because I had a thought a long time ago, there's all these people have PhDs, most of them, at least masters and PhDs.
Sure.
They ain't teaching nothing. They're sitting there doing paperwork on programs. They need to be teaching people. When a young person comes into the Department of Education or into the Charleston County school system, that person needs to be taught how to teach. I think that a youngster coming in needs to work with somebody who's got years of experience in how to teach and how to approach kids, because it's just not automatic. And 6 weeks of apprenticeship does not get you to be a teacher. It just doesn't. So there really needs to be a program to make sure that the persons who are coming in learn how to teach. And I think that's something that needs to happen.
You talk about the school system, as we sit here right now, and you want to run for the West Ashley seat. What are the biggest free schools in West Ashley. What are the top free schools in West Ashley in your mind?
And you asked me something that I have not done
Oh, no worries.
a whole lot of research on. I know where they are. I know where the schools are, but I don't know the names.
Okay.
I can't tell you the names,
Okay.
and I won't try.
Okay, let me get you back to the Charleston County School Board again. As you know, Dr. Drita Postaway is the superintendent right now.
Yes.
What letter grade would you give her as far as performance in your mind?
Difficult. She came in a controversial swirl.
Okay.
I thought that was kind of strange that she came in under that controversial swirl. What has happened, a letter grade at this point in time would be, a C. Because I haven't made any changes to the situation. It looks like, and it's apparent that the board is being dictated to by the staff, by her staff, and even through the chair of the board. There's a majority on one side of the board, and they do what they want to do. I mean, the 2 weeks ago, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, the suggestion that we're going to test school doors. We're going to buy $4,500 bulletproof doors.
Oh, yeah.
For 3 schools. Okay, when the gunman comes, do you tell him to go to the school with the bulletproof doors? How do you work that? How you testing the doors? The doors are going to work just like they worked when they went in the lab. A bullet can't go through the doors. But how you going to test them in a school situation? It looks like a contract that's been let to somebody.
And let me stay with school security. When you think of it in Charleston County, what is the state of school security?
There is none at this point. And I have not had the ability to see what's going on in all the schools. But the reality is, we're going to test these school doors. Nobody in that process is a professional at security. And I really believe that you need to have professionals come in and look at the overall picture and look at the schools. Because the reality of the location of some schools are going to decide that they're low problem areas.
Right.
And higher profile schools in industrial areas, or in developed areas, or downtown, or whatever else, are going to be targets for somebody who wants to do damage like that. So I think that you need to let a professional group deal with assigning the necessities of security. But the one thing that I think is that any school needs to have a central point of entrance.
And obviously you know a lot of people in this town because you're a household name, because your family's a household entity. What is that one professional group that you would name if you were in the school board right now to help solve these school security issues?
Well, the reality is the police department. The police study security. Now, there may be some groups, businesses that I have not been informed of, that you could put out an RFP to, but the reality is you need to have a police person or a police presence in whatever kind of committee is going to decide what the security picture should look like for any given school site. There's only 80-some schools. I know it would cost money, but it would be to advantage for you wouldn't try to go down and decide how you set up a security process on a school. That's not something you did in life. Me either. I shouldn't sit there and try to do it. I should get someone who's a professional at security to make the decisions on how do I secure this site, because St. John's High School, big old school, great big school, a bunch of, but you can always put a fence around it and make sure that everybody comes in the front door. And let me stop you at the front door, because the bad part about the bulletproof doors is I don't stop you at the front door. You get to go inside. So what tells me I need to lock the bulletproof doors?
And you talk about money. Let me take you to really from North Charleston to Mount Pleasant, because Paul Bowers at Post-Corey wrote this: the price tag on 4 construction projects in Charleston County soared by a combined $28.9 million yesterday. The school district says a busy construction market is to blame. What does that construction market look like in your mind?
Well, I'm not sure. I read that article myself.
Okay.
And I was trying to figure out what they're really saying there.
Okay.
Because when you did the bid on the school, you had the chance at that point to make the decision on whether to do it or not. Was it cost effective? And what has happened is, I mean, to build a school is an expensive process.
Okay.
Very expensive process. So when that decision was made, it shouldn't have changed. The cost shouldn't have changed, and the cost should have been within your market. Now, the bottom line is, I mean, if you look around Charleston, you can see as many cranes. We're building buildings all over the city of Charleston, Mount Pleasant, everywhere else right now. So it is kind of hard to find a construction company, and they are at a premium because they're in great demand. So I guess the one thing that would probably make me think, that you need to do something, you need to find a design for a school that works and build it over and over again, so that you don't have to go in and re-engineer each piece of property to build a new school. And because it's a school, it's kind of like a whole lot of other things. It just needs to be on a certain level, and I don't see why you can't just come up with one design and go ahead and let it work for wherever it is. You might change the color of it, but that's not a big deal.
And let me go back to that. The price tags on the Ford construction school construction projects, that is, in Charleston County, soared by a combined $28.9 million yesterday. Okay, Herbert, $28.9 million.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you a simplistic question. Where is this money coming from? Where is the money?
Well, and I was thinking about that when I was riding down here. You were going to ask me about where the money would come from. There's more people here. There's 55 people moving to Charleston every day, or at least in this area.
Right.
So there's more money coming. There's more businesses coming. There's more hotels. So there'll be a higher tax base. It's going to come out of the tax base. It has to. That's where the county gets its money from.
Right.
So I understand that it is expensive, or that it is a major piece of the budget of Charleston County. But the reality of it is that it also is the #1 producer of people or trained people to go to work in Charleston County and contribute to that tax base. So it's a necessary function. It's just as necessary as the fire department and the police department. It is. So we got to balance that and work it out. And I think that you have to kind of try to negotiate projects that are within budget.
And let me get back to the schools. I know I asked you about the free top schools in the West Ashley area. What are those free failing schools that are on your mind every day?
Oh man, and you're asking me for the names of them, and I know them when I walk up on them because I work in them whenever there's an election.
Okay.
I just know where they are on Wapu Road.
Right.
Yeah, that school has been battling back and forth for years and years. The population of the school is down by the library off Sam Rittenberg Boulevard. They tend to be minority schools, minority students. What I'm trying to figure out is, how come you see it in the national news all the time? Somebody takes over a embattled minority school and takes a different attitude with the kids, and they all go to college, and they, why are we not successful at dealing with children? Because the one thing about them is the fact that they're so easily impressed, and if you get their attention, you can teach them, and so we should be teaching them. They shouldn't be dropping out at a 50% rate. The 3 top schools in the nation are in North Charleston, Academic Magnet, and 2 other magnet schools.
Sure.
So if you can do it in a magnet school, why you can't do it in a regular public school?
And where are you with this discussion about charter versus public schools in your mind?
I don't have a problem with charter schools if they're working, if they're successful. Several charter schools are not that successful, so they're doing the same thing that public schools do. I am not, and only sold them if I don't really want to build a separate charter school, because now I've got a maintenance I gotta pay maintenance on that particular building. Why can't a charter school be inside of a regular school that's already here? Why you need another whole physical building that you gotta pay for and maintain, and you can't do it in this building? Right?
And let me get back to 75 Calhoun Street. Obviously, you want to run for the Charleston County School Board. But as we sit here right now, I mean, what is your definition of a Charleston County School Board member?
I think it's, it's defined by the fact that it's supposed to be someone who is not, who is apolitical and is there to make decisions about, I always think of a board member as someone who sets policy, and then the director, the superintendent should carry out that policy. I think that the board needs to, plan into the future that what we want to do as far as education is concerned in Charleston County. And that's what a board's supposed to do. But right now it's not doing that. I mean, you got board members who hear about things that come from the board chair and the superintendent, and the board members haven't even addressed it. This thing with the bulletproof doors, that hasn't been addressed. That's a $3.9 million project that hasn't even been in front of the board.
And let me get back to you. Obviously, we know you and your iconic family.
Iconic.
You look home for funerals.
Yeah.
And your beloved father who passed away a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But when you take off your educational hat and your entrepreneurial hat, who is Herbert S. Fielding?
Oh, I am. I'm Herbert Fielding, and it's nothing special about that.
Okay.
I really feel like I should do something for as far as this community is concerned. It's given a lot to me, especially we're sitting in my alma mater.
Right.
This is fantastic. I don't want to be in any way special. I really want to get in there and listen to people. Let somebody tell me what I should do as a board member. I think that's the best definition I could have, is to be able to represent some other people at the table, because quite frequently people don't get represented at the big table because lots of politics and other crazy stuff.
And I talked about your father, who we all loved. He passed away right after the Mother Emanuel tragedy. I remember that.
Yeah.
His funeral was
It was at Emanuel.
Yeah. Church, yeah.
He wanted it to be at Calvary.
Oh, really?
He made all the arrangements for his own funeral. Wow. He was a film director.
Right, yeah.
He was a film director. He did all his arrangements.
Wow.
Except we had to change because we went to on Wentworth Street.
Oh, yeah.
The Episcopal Church on
Right.
Wentworth Street. And then we had his wake at Emanuel because it was too big to be in Calvary. It would never have held the people that came.
Well, Herbert S. Fielding, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Appreciate the interview.
Anytime. It was so good seeing you, man.
Yeah. We'll keep it up.
Yeah, let's do it. All righty.